Hey everyone, I'm back. I'm starting with Luke 6. Now, Luke 6 I read a few days ago, but I had sound issues and I'm gonna have to do it again. But it's no problem. When things come up that's a problem, just find a way to overcome them and start all over again. So, this is what I'm going to do now. Um, I was talking for a while, but since I have practiced the first time, then I can shorten it hopefully down to the uh, main information about the message. Subject is Jesus is Lord over the Sabbath day. And I was saying on the other one that the Sabbath day is the seventh day, the day that many people worship or go to church or honor God on. It was created, it's part of the Ten Commandments. Everybody knows the Ten Commandments that was given to Moses to give to the people an order by God saying these are the things that are most important and to stick to them. And they are things like honor your mother and father, worship God, do not lie, do not steal, do not commit adultery, don't murder, those kind of things. And also honor the seventh day or the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And why did God put that in there? It seems like something so simple. Why do we have to honor the seventh day of the week? What's that about? Well, in the beginning, God created the world and everything in it in 6 days, and on the seventh day He rested. So anything that we see God doing to not place ourselves above or higher than Him, then we must do the same thing in a sense, so to speak. So that's why we have the seventh day. So I'm just gonna get into it and see what it says. Jesus is Lord over the seventh day. One time on the seventh day, Jesus was walking through some grain fields. His followers picked the grain, rubbed it in their hands, and ate it. Some Pharisees said, "Why are you doing that? It's against the law of Moses to do that on the Sabbath day." Jesus answered, "You have read about what David did when he and the people with him were hungry. David went into God's house. He took the bread that was offered to God and ate it, and he gave some of the bread to the people with him. This was against the law of Moses, which says that only the priest can eat the bread." Then Jesus said to the Pharisees, "The Son of Man is Lord over the Sabbath." So, why did Jesus say that? David, he was on the run from King Saul because he was called out by God. David's called out by God. He's a little boy. And he's called out by God to say, "You're going to be the next king since the one who's in place right now is not being a good ruler or leader." So, because of that, the current king got jealous and sought to kill David and take his life. So David had to just pretty much run off with the clothes on his back and just struggle and go find food and shelter just out in the world because he's running and this king's chasing him with all his army just to kill him so that he can't replace him as king. So one time David, he's already titled king, and so many things in David's life mimic things in Jesus's life. It's almost like they're one and the same. So David, he was hungry, and he ran up into God's house, imagine a church house, and in the church house you have food dedicated to God, and the priests are saying, "Don't touch this food. We're dedicating it to God, or else you'll be cursed." So David's so hungry, he's on the run, like, I'm trying to accomplish the things of God. So he wasn't really thinking, he just grabs the food that's dedicated to God and starts eating it, and he didn't die. If it was a normal person, a regular person who wasn't doing anything or didn't have any destination, didn't have any destiny from God, um, they would probably have died from eating the food that was dedicated to God. But David did, and he didn't die because he's the king. And that's what Jesus is trying to explain to those priests. Are coming, they're charging him up. They're always trying to complain about something. "Hey, why are you doing this? You're supposed to be so godly. Why are you doing this and that and that and this?" And Jesus reminds them, "Okay, you're coming to me and asking me why am I doing any kind of work on the seventh day because God said don't work on the seventh day. But let me show you what kings do. They're they when you're doing the work of God, you can do, and you're not doing something negative, you can nearly do whatever you want." That's what pretty much Jesus is saying. He's like, "I'm the king. I'm the Lord over this seventh day. I'm greater than the rules that there are in existence." And he's saying that, you know, I can, he's just giving himself the authority to do it. So instead of explaining it, that's just the summary. He's saying, I can because I'm God. He's the one who created the seventh day. Should he be controlled by it? No. Only the master of a piece of art or a work of art is never underneath the creation. He is greater than creation, so he can do what he wants. But anyway, next subject is Jesus heals a man on the Sabbath day. On another Sabbath day or seventh day, Jesus went into the synagogue and taught the people. A man with a crippled right hand was there. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees were watching Jesus closely. They were waiting to see if he would heal on the Sabbath day. They wanted to see him do something wrong so they could accuse him. But Jesus knew what they were thinking. He said to the man with the crippled hand, "Get up and stand here where everyone can see." The man got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, "I ask you, which is the right thing to do on the seventh day? To do good or to do evil? Is it right to save a life or to destroy one?" Jesus looked around at all of them and then said to the man, "Hold out your hand." The man held out his hand and it was healed. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law got so mad they couldn't think straight. They talked to each other about what they could do to Jesus. So the religious preachers are keep on following Jesus around, not because they are a follower of his or they appreciate his good message. They just want to find a way that they can catch him up and get him caught up so they can either kill him or throw him in jail at least. So he already knows what they're thinking. He sees them standing there watching, and he heals somebody on the seventh day. On the seventh day, you're not supposed to do anything at all but rest. Like in the Bible, it says God rested on the seventh day. But Jesus is walking around healing, doing miracles. They're like, if you were so godly, why are you doing the opposite of what God said to do? He said rest on Sunday, and look at all this you're doing. So Jesus knew what they were thinking, and he just continued on in the process of what he was doing and just said, you know what? Get up and stand here where everyone can see. I want this miracle seen. And then he says to the crowd, which is the right thing to do on the seventh day? To do good or to do evil? Well, everybody would say to do good. And he says, is it right to save a life or to destroy one? And everybody, of course, would say on any day it would be right to save a life instead of destroy one. So he heals the man right there, and the religious teachers can't say anything because it's the right thing to do, to help at any time, at any moment, and with the focus on love. That's what Jesus walks around and does, tries to show you that there are laws in place, but as long as you work in love, there's no reason for those laws. That's the whole change in your spirit, your whole change in your mindset, your thinking. That's the whole reason for Jesus Christ, to show you a new way of living. Because our old way, we just go off of what we feel, and oh, somebody is getting on our nerves, let's fight them. But instead of saying let's fight them, work in love and say I love that person. Actually, that person is me because we have the same spirit from God. So I will treat that person like I would want them to treat me. And love solves everything. You don't need rules. You don't have to look up and say, what does God say about fighting? Should I do it? Should I not? No, just work in love, and you don't need rules, restrictions, regulations. You don't have to worry about if you're going to sin because you're walking in love and treating everybody with love. Next subject, Jesus chooses his 12 apostles. A few days later, Jesus went out to a mountain to pray. He stayed there all night praying to God. The next morning, he called his followers. He chose 12 of them and called them apostles or disciples. These are the ones he chose: Simon, Jesus named him Peter; Andrew, brother of Peter; James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, the son of Alphaeus; Simon called the Zealot; Judas, the son of James; and Judas Iscariot, the one who turned against Jesus in the end. So Jesus okay. Well, that was self-explanatory. I don't have to go into many details about it, but everyone knows Jesus Christ had 12 disciples. One ended up turning him in. And then eventually ended up killing himself because he felt so guilty about turning in Jesus Christ. So those are the 12 people. Next, Jesus teaches and heals the people. And I'm almost halfway through. I don't know. My first video was something like 2 hours long. I guess I just went off of so many different directions. So I don't know. But this one's going much faster. Jesus teaches and heals the people. Jesus, well, really, let me see. When I made that mistake, I told myself, you know what, it's better to chop these videos up into little pieces so that they're very short and to the point and title them. So I'm going to start doing that now. I'm going to cut it off with that, then come back and still continue with Luke 6, but it's just a different section of Luke 6. So this will be easier to make the videos be like 1 minute, 5 minutes, etc. And it'll be easier to search by topic. For example, the last one, if somebody said, I wonder how many disciples Jesus had, they'd be able to go into YouTube and my page and type in 12 disciples or how many disciples are there, and they can find a subject on it. So it's better to do it that way. So let me stick to that. Goodbye.